This week we're going to be talking about the Wonder Woman trailer, Ghostbusters, anything that's 80s nostalgia, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Game Awards, also Mandalorian review, and our theories for Star Wars Episode 9. Stay tuned for You Heard with Nerds.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to You Heard with Nerds. This is episode 1.
Day one.
All right, I'm Brett, and this is my co-host, Dorian.
What's up, everybody?
We're super excited to be bringing you this podcast. Kind of the reason for doing it was we talked about this stuff anyway, so we're like, why not have fun with it? Why not put it out there? We know there's a lot of people. Dorian and I both listen to a lot of different podcasts, and so we were kind of like, you know, there's very specific podcasts. Our podcast can be more of a hodgepodge of what we're interested in, and hopefully you guys are interested in some of it too. And so we're going to be covering a wide variety of things, as Dorian said in our opener. We have, we're starting off on Friday the 13th, which is kind of interesting. I didn't realize that until...
Probably not the best idea to launch
Probably not.
Record a podcast, but you know, hey, I mean, I'm not superstitious.
No, I am a little stitious.
Yep.
Michael Scott, baby.
Yep.
So yeah, that's something too. We're going to be going into, like, you guys will hear us reference things like Parks and Rec, The Office.
Oh yeah, it's our jam.
Yeah, it's our jam for sure. It's our language. So we hope you enjoy that. But we wanted to open it up. This is called kind of our, you know, nerd news, if you will. But we're going to be talking about some trailers first. And so we have the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer. Mm-hmm. First impressions, Dorian. What are you thinking?
I mean, so full disclosure, I wasn't a huge fan of the first movie. I thought it was okay.
How dare you?
I know. Already getting hot takes and controversy
Right
out the gate. But
yeah.
No, I mean, this trailer, you know, looks decent. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not like the biggest Wonder Woman fan in the world. I mean, I do know, you know, her from like Justice League and just by association with like, you know, Batman and whatnot. But no, I mean, this trailer looks fine. Definitely, I think probably the money shot in this trailer is her lassoing lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I wonder how that's going to actually be used, because, you know, I think if she's just using it to just kind of get around, that's kind of lame. But if she's like actually using it to like big Super Saiyan like attack or something like that.
It's kind of, to me, it reminded me of Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
You know, when he goes what we would call Super Saiyan, but he gets the Odin Force, basically.
Yeah, basically just like lightning all over the place and all that. Yep.
I mean, it looked cool. It did look...
Yeah.
Look pretty cool. So my thing, you know, this is the hot button, which we could probably theorize for a while. I liked her armor, and Kristen Wiig, I mean, who knows? She's a comedian, so I haven't seen her in anything serious.
No,
per se.
yeah.
But the biggest thing, Steve Trevor. Right?
Trevor, yep.
So here's the thing: is like when I was watching this. I know, because we've been waiting quite a while for this movie. I feel like it's been a few years at least.
Yeah, because I think Wonder Woman was 2017, if I remember right. So
yeah, so 2-3 years.
2-3 years.
It'll be coming out in 2020. So
yeah.
When I first saw him, I think I audibly was like, "Why?"
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't that mad he died in the first movie.
Yeah.
Now there were a lot of people I remember that. They kind of theorized that
he would be coming back.
Yeah. That he wasn't dead, which, you know, he could have jumped out. But he's the same age. He hasn't aged a day.
Exactly.
And it's 40-something years later, right?
Roughly, yeah.
The first movie took place in World War
Yeah, World War I. So we're talking
the 20s.
So we're talking probably...
early 30s.
More than 40. We're talking probably roughly 60, 70, roughly, somewhere around there. But, yeah, no. So it's... I kind of feel like just... I think they kind of brought him out of necessity just because of how big of a role he played in the first Wonder Woman here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because it's like, you know, him and Diana's chemistry, the relationship and all that was kind of like the big thing that I think that movie kind of hung its hat on here. And so when you're doing a sequel and you can't, like, you know, do that because one of the main characters is dead and it's a completely different time period, I think you kind of have to work around it. But I was looking at like a few things online. I'm not seeing like anything that's like, oh yeah, this is taken from like this story in the comics here. It doesn't seem like it's really been really like done like in its entirety before here. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of cool. It's a new story. They're not banking on like a story that has already happened in the comics, which that's kind of what we've seen for most of the DC films. I feel like is that they're derived from either an eclectic group like of comics, or an arc.
Now, when you say DC, you're talking about the DCEU, right? Like the most recent batch of DC movies.
Right. Yeah. Okay, obviously, we can look at the old Batman movies and look at stuff like Year One for Batman Begins, and I mean those are original in and of themselves as well. There's a story arc that with Bane and all that. He does break his back, obviously, but
Nightfall, and all that,
I would say, which you have a Nightfall issue, don't you?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the how is kind of the important thing. Like how they bring him into this is going to be important for me, I think, to buy into him actually being back, because you know, if they want us to care about this character, like Lazarus pits are real. This is the DC universe, right?
Yeah, no, it is.
And so it's been explored in multiple different avenues, especially, you know, I remember growing up watching the animated series and being like, wow, there's pits that they can throw people into that they come back from the dead.
Right, yeah.
Now, there are side effects with that. We see that in Jason Todd, right?
Yeah, Jason Todd, Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, however you prefer your pronunciation.
I like Ra's. It sounds cooler, but we're so used to Ra's from the
Batman Begins,
Christopher Nolan films. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they will go with Lazarus Pits on this one. I mean, they obviously could. I mean, you know, they have the rights, they have everything that they need, but I kind of feel like, you know, that's something that's that would be more tied to like, you know, a Batman story as opposed to like Wonder Woman. I feel like Wonder Woman's probably got like a lot of things like that she could draw from in her, like, you know, franchise or her line of comics to, like, you know, essentially do that. I'm kind of wondering because like there's that part in the trailer with like Pedro Pascal's character. I think is like Maximilian Lord, I think is his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't too sure. Like, I don't know Wonder Woman world. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know either. But he's like talking like he's on that on the TV saying like, you know, the year's 1984. You can have whatever you want here or something like that. So I wonder if that's like a little bit of a possible foreshadowing or like, you know, kind of hinting at like he's got something to do with Steve Trevor doing it. It's like maybe Steve Trevor's not even like actually there. Maybe it's like maybe it's actually like kind of like a figment of her imagination that like she got drugged or something like that. I don't know.
Or it could be like a PTSD thing, or I don't know beyond like Cheetah, like as far as villains go, like how they're gonna, like, who's going to be the actual main villain of the movie, right?
Yeah, I mean...
And so I think that might be, if it has to do with, like, creating illusions, because that commentary kind of made it seem like, you know, just imagine whatever, and you could have whatever you want type of thing. It's the 80s, which, I mean, we're going to get into that in a minute, but that trailer was heavy 80s, and I did not like it. I liked it. I did. I liked the trailer.
Yeah.
I like the vibe of it. If they keep that vibe, that's going to be a very different
tone from the first movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall it was a pretty solid trailer. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Now could it be with Steve Trevor? Is this a descendant? I mean, it's literally the same actor. They could do that.
Well, and I mean, the way that trailer portrayed it, it's like
he's back.
He's back, exactly. And like, you know, because it's kind of like the reverse situation where Diana is the one now showing Steve Trevor what the world is like here, as opposed to like
because it's changed.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a reversal of roles from like the first movie,
for sure.
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. And if it is a descendant, I mean, that is kind of weird, like, you know, her cuddling up to, like, you know, Steve Trevor's like great grandson or grandson, wherever he would fall in the generational line. But
yeah, it'd probably be grandson.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
roughly somewhere around there.
Grandson to great grandson, depending. Yeah, no, I thought it was overall good.
Yeah. So next up, we're going to be talking about the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer. So, what are your first impressions on this trailer here?
Again, heavy 80s vibe.
Yeah.
It almost looked like it could take place in the 80s.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like this is not set in the 80s because this is like supposed to be years and years after like the original Ghostbusters. So
Right.
I'm assuming that it is supposed to be modern day.
Yeah, that's what I would be assuming. I mean, it's really hard to know when you have actors who are only in 80s kind of motion pictures like Finn Wolfhard. Like he only gets cast in
It's
80s nostalgia.
It's something in his contract.
It's got to be. I think he's just got that look, though.
You know, yeah.
I don't know if that means anything to anyone, but I feel like that if you look at Finn Wolfhard,
He just screams 80s.
it's typecasting. Yeah, it is.
No,
it really is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so far, unless like there's something I'm missing. I mean, obviously Stranger Things, but he was also in it, and now, Ghostbusters. So
Yeah, and I mean, I don't love Paul Rudd, but I think it'll be cool to have him as he seems to be almost like in Stranger Things, the science teacher who knows something about the Upside Down. Like he knows something about the Ghostbusters or what they used to be.
Yeah.
So there is a past tense there where it is the future. It has to be. They could be in like an old town.
yeah.
Some people say that there's like those towns that just kind of get stuck in those eras.
Right,
Like
yeah.
people would say, because we're in North Idaho,
Yeah.
Kellogg, Eastern Washington,
Yeah.
and so it's like people say we're like 10 years behind here.
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not, I don't think, but
But
you could say that about some towns up here for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this trailer I feel like is definitely trying to invoke a Stranger Things vibe here, and one of the things that kind of surprised me is like how much of a focus is going to be on the kids themselves here. I thought like it would be like, oh yeah, there's some kids along for the ride, but it's going to be mostly focused on like maybe the original cast or the adults, and which they are.
They're supposed to be in it.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
here's what it says on IMDb. It says, here's the description of the actual movie so far, which I don't know how accurate it is, but it says when a single mom and her two kids arrive in a small town, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. So I'm guessing, I know one of the actors passed away. I mean, they're all getting up there in age, but I can't remember. I don't have it on me right now, but we have Bill Murray returning.
Yep.
Who else do we have? Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and who else? I think that Ernie Hudson was in the original. Yeah, he's Winston.
Yeah.
So let's look. Gosh, what's the other guy's name?
I think you're talking about. I can't remember his name. It's been
I'll
a while
look
since
it
I've
up.
seen.
It's been a minute,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so I think that that's how they're probably tying him into the new movie is like his legacy, basically,
Yeah.
his family lineage, and so I think that's kind of the role Finn Wolfhard's character is probably going to play is just discovering who the Ghostbusters are, and I'm guessing at this point, looking at their car and everything, it's been a while.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And then, not to mention too, talking about legacy, this is also being directed by the original director's son as well. Here.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's no. So I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, one thing I've seen that some people are a little bit critical about is, the fact that this just doesn't seem like it has a comedic tone, which, it's a trailer. I mean, granted, like the tone in the trailer didn't really have like, I think any comedic moments to really speak of here, but I mean, it's still a little early to kind of like,
I mean, when your main guys are Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, you're it's gonna be funny.
It's gonna be funny.
But Sigourney Weaver was also, I forgot she was also in the original Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, she was, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I think the Harold Ramis was the guy. He played Egon. So I'm guessing it's probably gonna be like his grandson or something like that. Let me double check because it's probably on the IMDb page.
I mean, that being said, I think we can all say with confidence this is probably going to be better than 2016 all-female cast Ghostbusters.
I didn't even see it.
I didn't either, but I mean, I haven't heard anything positive or good about that movie in my own circle of.
Yeah, it's like Okay, so I looked at Finn. His name's just Trevor. He's not giving a last name, probably because they want that to be part of the plot.
It's gonna be a reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, the trailer was enough to get me excited.
Yeah.
I was never a huge Ghostbuster fan. Like I remember watching it as a child, and then I watched it probably one more time and as an adult.
Yeah, I mean, neither was I when I was growing up here.
I think I was afraid of it, to be honest. I think I was a little afraid of Slimer.
Well, I mean, especially like at the end when you get with like Zool and all that, like that like goddess chick or whatever that comes out with like the freaking demon dogs. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of heavy as a kid.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, everything in 80s nostalgia. Like obviously these two movies premiered in the 80s. Like they're either set in the 80s or
have strong 80s influence.
Strong 80s influence. And so why do you think that is? Why are these shows like Stranger Things? We're looking at, movie franchises now that have been around for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
30 years if it's the end of the era, but
yeah,
so this is 40 years kind of in the making with a lot of these. You got you had Ghostbusters, obviously.
Yeah,
we just had a Rambo, a Terminator.
Yeah, no,
Alien was kind of coming back.
Yeah, Alien. There was an Alien movie I think a couple years back.
Yeah.
Predator came out a couple years back too. So
and then you have that just the 80s beat kind of and stuff like Stranger Things, Guardians, Joker.
Yep.
But why are the 80s making a comeback, Dorian? And is it a good thing? What do you think?
So for starters, I mean, I think the easy answer is nostalgia. Just because, I mean, there's a lot of people who, are growing up with the 80s and all that are, they're roughly 30, 40 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 89.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean... I think nostalgia is definitely one thing. Plus, I mean, 80s is definitely a very unique time. Like just like the way people dress, the music, definitely
it's distinct,
very distinct time period. Yes. So, I think another reason is Stranger Things does have like probably a little bit of a part to play with that because it's kind of like.
You mean like for the resurgence of
a little
80s?
Bit, yeah. Just because I mean, Stranger Things, like one of the biggest appeals of it is, the 80s of it, and like the setting. It's unapologetically 80s, and it's like
for sure.
And they go year by year talking about like what was big for that year. They even have it down to like who was running for president. Like you can see like vote for Reagan, vote for this guy. Yeah. In the yards and all that. So I think that definitely has something to do with it. Now, in terms of whether or not it's a good thing or not, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I personally don't have any connection to the 80s because I was born in 91. So,
I mean, I don't really either. And I was born in 89.
So, I'm
a 90s kid at heart.
So, I mean, it's like, it might be getting a little played out. I think we might be getting to the point where people are be like, okay, yeah, another 80s thing here, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be kind of up to people on that. But I mean, I personally am feeling like, okay, everything doesn't have to be, 80s because I think
it doesn't.
I think like, it's kind of like one of those things where you have to like pace it because otherwise it's going to be looking like a gimmick or a cheap trick just to essentially like, get a certain audience to your movie, show, what have you.
I mean, nostalgia is huge.
Oh, it's very huge. I mean,
like if you know me. Like most of what I do, like I said, I'm 30.
Yeah.
Most of what I do, or things I enjoy, are things I enjoyed when I was young.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't mean that from like a, like basically, if something is Star Wars, I'll be into it because it has such a strong connection to my childhood.
Yeah.
If you try to get me to watch or be a part of something newer, it's a little bit more difficult for me to buy in.
Yeah.
Now there are exceptions to that rule, obviously, but nostalgia is huge. I mean, Ready Player One's one of my favorite novels of all time.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The main reason was because, and I wasn't even alive in the 80s, but it inspired me. I'm like, I need to write a book about the late 90s or early 2000s, kind of more of our era.
Exactly.
And what was going on then. Cause it was so cool because I liked the older stuff, growing up, and so watching stuff with my dad and along those lines, late 70s, early 80s stuff, still hits home for me. It's still nostalgic for me, even though I wasn't part of that era.
Yeah.
And so I think we might be on kind of the end of the 80s trope kind of thing. Here's why I think that is. I feel like they've done almost everything when it comes to like 80s movies and continuing them. Like I don't know if there's a lot of room other than what they're already doing to really do something worthwhile that I'm going to go want to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and not to mention too, I think we are starting to get into the point where 90s nostalgia is going to start taking over. I mean, we already have, Captain Marvel
set in the 90s.
And then the Batman is supposed to be set in the 90s as well. So, I mean, I think we're going to start seeing, more and more of that crop up because I think, again, nostalgia is like, people are a sucker for nostalgia here.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And we're right there with them.
I mean, one thing I do want to note is it seems like, we have like a lot of things like, our franchises from the 80s that are coming back, like, Terminator, Rambo, Alien, Predator and all that. Even like, 2016's all-female Ghostbusters and all that came back. But none of those have actually been like huge successes here. No. Like they just kind of came and went. They didn't really make a ton of money. Wasn't like super well received by like critics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean I have my own theories on that, especially when it comes to like Rambo, Terminator, like they just weren't great movies. Like, I saw Terminator and kind of what I was thinking that whole time. I think T2 is probably one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
top 10 for sure.
It's a banger.
And so, and I remember watching it as a kid and I was like, these graphics are insane.
Yeah, I mean, they still like
they hold up.
They hold up to a certain degree.
Yeah, of course. And so when spoiler alert for all of you who have not seen the new Terminator movie, I feel like it's been out long enough. It's December 13th.
So it's been about a month or so.
It's been a while. And, but basically, they kind of retcon all of the other Terminator movies.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I kind of wanted payoff with John Carter. Like, he was supposed to be they did stop whatever happened with Skynet, but it didn't matter, basically. Yeah. And I was like, that's a cop-out. Like, that's such a cop-out for these writers. Basically, they're just reiterating the whole entire story and then peppering it with nostalgia with Arnold and Sarah Connor. I can't remember her name, the actress who plays her, but basically with them coming back, that's the only reason I even went, really, was because it was like, oh, it's got the original part of the original cast and the original,
save for Kyle Reese and all that,
right? But he dies in the first one,
so it wouldn't make much sense.
But just on those premise alone was going to drive people to the box office, and it just didn't. Like, it didn't work.
No. Well, I mean, I think, like, the writers, at least for Terminator, and probably like a lot of these guys, they should be, honestly, farmers for how much they're milking it instead of writers. Yeah. Because, it's like, I think they are really banking on kind of like the effect that, episode 7 have, bringing back Han, Luke, and Leia, and like that was like, mind-blowing for people, essentially. And it made, like, buku bucks. But I think... that
would be the exception, I think, is that's exactly one of the trilogies that
exception
really...
of the rule. But also, not to mention, too, it's like, you don't see, like, too many rated R movies. I mean, we're kind of starting to see it, like, starting to pick up. But you don't see too many rated R movies, like, really have a big box office draw here. Because most people are trying to go for that PG-13 rating to bring, their family and all that stuff here.
Yeah, and I think that the Joker kind of nails that, though. That's that movie. I don't want them to make a sequel, to be honest.
I don't either, be honest. I think it works perfectly as a standalone movie.
If they do, the only way I would want that to happen is if this is the Joker we know from the comics. Yeah, and he gets tied into Robert Pattinson's the Batman movies,
or even just like, you just see more of like this universe's interpretation of, say, like the Penguin or like some of the other players in there, just like not as like necessarily like big roles, but at least like, you know, kind of like introduce a little bit more elements. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I think honestly they intended this to be a standalone movie. I think it works perfectly as a standalone movie. You know, just leave it at that.
Just leave it. Continuing our nerd news. What else you got, Dorian?
So, if for those of you who are still watching the CW DC shows, Crisis on Infinite
I'd say there's not many left.
I'm
off the bandwagon on this,
yeah.
so this is gonna be Dorian's kind of take on it.
So basically, full disclosure. So I stopped watching Arrow and Flash. I didn't even get into Legends of Tomorrow or
No, you don't need to.
Supergirl or Batwoman or anything like that. But
Me neither. Sorry, people.
Yeah. So, but that being said, so I tuned in for Crisis on Infinite Earths, and after, you know, years of not watching these shows, and obviously there's going to be like, you know, a few things for sure that kind of go over your head here. Like, I mean, spoiler alert for, you know, anybody who wants to actually watch this and like, you know, kind of be surprised and whatnot. But Diggle's wife, Lila, she's not like head of Argus anymore. She's like this what's the word I'm looking for? Basically like works for like the Celestial Monitor guy, basically.
Oh.
Like,
see, I don't even know anything about him really.
Yeah, no, I mean that's like where you're kind of getting into like the weird like multiverse deep DC, you know, lore stuff here.
Sure.
But anyhow, so my opinions on Crisis on Infinite Earths. I mean, so I couldn't like enjoy it like a whole lot because it was like, you know, I wasn't caught up with like the story. Apparently Oliver Queen has like a daughter now that's like actually like in her teens or something like that.
Well, so with that, I know I was watching a couple YouTube videos, and she's from the future.
Okay, yeah, that's
and so was his son. I don't know if his son was part of it.
Yeah, no, his son wasn't part of it, but like but just by like little context clues from watching, I kind of figured that's probably.
Does she go by Artemis?
Or
no?
I don't think they really.
That'd have been kind of a cool nod to Artemis from Young Justice, which
yeah,
I need to watch season 3 of that.
Yeah,
anyway,
but anyhow, so. The main reason why I wanted to personally watch this is just because of how much DC nostalgia or like, you know, like talent that they're getting in there. You got people from Smallville. You got
Tom Welling.
You got people from the Lois Lane and Superman
with Dean Cain. Yeah,
exactly. You have Burt Ward from Batman 66 here. You know.
Adam West.
Yeah, you have Brandon Routh being Superman.
Oh, I did hear that. He was the actual Superman from Superman Returns, right?
Yeah, he was originally Superman from Superman Returns. I mean, obviously he plays Adam in you know, Legends of Tomorrow and like the other shows here.
But a lot of people were thinking, you know, there's the comic line Kingdom Come.
Yeah, and
because he has a similar look, but he was actually playing.
Yeah, he's actually playing
the Superman from Superman Returns.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that here.
I'm pretty sure because he has a son in on it named Jason, right?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, and that's his name, the name of the kid in the movie.
So maybe what they're doing is they're tying in like essentially like the Superman Returns Superman eventually becomes Kingdom Come Superman.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a possibility, but the main reason why I wanted to watch it is freaking Kevin Connery, the voice of Batman
from the 90s Batman animated series, for those of you who grew up with it or have seen it somewhere,
was gonna appear live in the flesh as Bruce Wayne here. And honestly,
he should be.
It's like, and honestly, it's kind of great to see. You know, you kind of get like goosebumps.
That's Batman's voice.
That's Batman's voice.
That's Bruce Wayne.
Exactly. And so the way they did it is because they have to go like. Let me back it up for a little bit. They have to go to like these different universes to like, you know, essentially recruit people. And so they end up going to, you know, the one where Kevin Conroy's Batman is hanging out at. And he's, you know, and he's old. He's kind of withered. He's basically uses an exoskeleton suit to kind of get around here because he's you know, he's seen some stuff here. You know, he's definitely been put through the grinder a few times here. So
Now, before we get into it, can I ask you this?
okay.
Is he from a universe where there may be a Terry McGinnis? Or is he kind of is he from the future on a different Earth, or is he from modern day different Earth?
I think he's from a future from it. Yeah, he's part of like a future from a different Earth, I think is what they said on there. But I mean, so basically it's like, so they're trying to recruit him for a little bit. Long story short, it turns out that he's actually not that great of a good guy here, because he kills all his villains, and he actually killed Superman in this universe here.
Really?
And
that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, and and that's the reason why.
So he's kind of like the Thomas Wayne almost.
Kinda, yeah. So I mean, what they ended up doing is like the reason why he's in that exoskeleton is because of his fight with Superman. He got jacked up from that fight. He came out on top, but he has to use that exoskeleton suit to kind of get around.
So are we getting like the Dark Knight Returns kind of vibe almost?
I mean,
where he had to.
He definitely throws down some Dark Knight Returns lines.
Really?
Oh yeah. But
dang.
So basically, kind of like how they talk about it is, they kind of talk about how he started out, with his, famous no-kill rule, all that stuff, but things eventually, kind of wore on him. He became more jaded and stuff, and then he ended up killing one person. Then it became easier to kill another person, then another person, and then another person. And so, I mean, I thought that whole concept was absolutely cool, because I feel like that's what probably Ben Affleck's Batman should have been, in all honesty. Like,
he was flirting, right?
He was flirting with the idea. I mean, obviously not to get.
It was manslaughter. He did not kill those people.
Gosh. But
he manslaughtered the heck out of some people in Batman vs Superman.
Oh, big time. But I mean, it's like, but I mean, the main thing is like, I mean, not to get too far into it, just because I want to stay on topic, is my main problem I have with that movie is like, it wasn't necessarily that Batman was killing, but they never really like gave him like, like a justification or reason for why he was doing the things, or like what actually set him off to like, do this here, because
I mean, you definitely get the idea that he's a jaded Batman.
Sure. But
that's enough, I think, for most people to kind of at least at times contradict what you've believed in the past, especially if you become jaded in whatever that is.
Sure.
So,
but regardless, so
if you were, would you recommend watching? So how much content is it? 5 hours? It's 5 episodes, right?
So it is 5 episodes total, but right now there's only 3, because they do 3 right now, and then the whole series or Crisis on Infinite Earths continues after January. So
way to catch them,
exactly.
hook them in. So since we're only 3 episodes in, this is something I could potentially catch up on.
You could potentially catch up on. I mean,
how would you rate this as far as like?
I mean, I would say like, if you're someone who's like on the outside looking in, like you and me here, just watch the stuff with Smallville, watch the stuff with Kevin Conroy, Batman, and call it good.
Really?
I mean, the rest of it is kind of like, stuff that I feel like you'd have to like actually watch, like consistently in order to like really appreciate. But that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on.
Mm-hmm. So next up, Matrix 4 and the Flash movie. We got release dates now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was so quick for Matrix 4.
Really quick. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is so
fire.
He's fire right now.
Yeah.
Everyone likes him. Like he is. He's it.
Yeah. No.
He's the next Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Basically, yeah.
He's gonna be in everything.
Yep.
There's rumors of him going to DC. There's been rumors in Marvel. There's been rumors in Star Wars.
Yeah, no.
And so this makes sense.
No, very bankable star right now. And it's hilarious the fact that The Matrix is slated to come out the same day as John Wick 4.
Really?
Yeah, so it's gonna be Keanu Day.
Double banger of Keanu.
Oh yeah, people go from one theater to the next theater here.
I would. I mean, I like John Wick, and I I liked the first Matrix movie.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, 2's not bad. 3's
Kinda-
pretty lost me, dude. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I watched those movies, and I first watched them when I was like probably, I don't know, like 15 or so, somewhere around there. So
I think that was the first like when the Matrix first came out. Now, this is one of those, what do they call them when it's like
it's like you have to watch it no matter what age you are.
No,
type of thing, or
oh gosh, there's a certain word for it, and it's basically like a phenomenon where you remember it a certain way, and a lot of people do.
Oh.
But it's actually a different way. I remember when the Matrix first came out, it was PG-13, I think, and then they gave it an R rating.
Yeah,
I legit remember it being PG-13. Like I remember seeing on like a VHS that was PG-13, and they changed it to R later.
Yeah, like a Mandela effect. or
Yeah,
whatever.
Mandela effect,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I always thought that was interesting. We need to get our hands on a Matrix movie. If anyone out there has one, send it to me.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I will go see it.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm really trying to figure out like what they're gonna do with it though.
Well, and the interesting thing about this movie that I'm really interested to see how it plays out, because Keanu's coming back.
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss is coming back as Trinity. But Lawrence Fishburne so far has not been confirmed to come back, which honestly kind of surprises me because
They just did John Wick 3,
well,
right?
but he was the one that actually survived at the end of those 3 movies because
Well, yeah. Why would Trinity be? She's super dead.
yeah, she's dead. Neo's dead.
Well,
but,
he's like
but he's
the Matrix Jesus though. He's gonna rise again.
Oh, no,
Like,
of
that's probably
course.
what this movie's about.
Of course, but I mean, it's like, so I don't know how that whole thing is going to play out here, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's if you can have an interesting enough premise to like, kind of do it and not just be like, be a blatant cash grab or something like that.
I want this, like, I think the biggest thing and the way it lost me most, a huge chunk of the third movie was fought in the real world.
Yeah.
And I did not like that.
Really?
Yeah. I liked the Matrix way better.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's right in the title here, you know?
Exactly.
But I mean,
so you give me cool fight scenes. You give me John Wick mesh with the powers he has as Neo inside the Matrix where he's trying to do something in there. I don't know if it's in the real world or about them, because essentially they killed the machines, right?
well, they didn't kill the machines. They
Or they overwrote their.
No, not even that. Like they basically the Agent Smith program goes rogue from the main machine cause or whatever, and he's just kind of doing his own thing, turning everybody in the Matrix
into him
essentially. Like basically he's like a virus in their system, and so Neo makes a deal with like the
machines. That's right. He
head
kind of purged it basically.
the
of the
head
virus.
machine. Yeah, the head machine guy deals with it, and then the machines like essentially broker peace. Now I can imagine like, part of how this movie's going to start is probably like, something happens to where the negotiations are no longer on the table, or the peace treaty is like torn up or something like that, and then they're back at it at fighting each other.
And that's what brings Neo Jesus
Yep.
back into it.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, and then so Flash, which originally was supposed to be a 2020 movie, got a release date of 2022.
I know. That's so weird. I mean, because they're both WB properties, right? Like
Yeah.
they're both part of Warner Bros.
Yep.
I'm kind of honestly over. Like, I wanted a Flashpoint movie.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
Back when all that stuff was like all like the Justice League and everything was happening, that was the time to capitalize.
Yeah. No.
I feel like if you put that movie out now, it's not going to have the same reception it would. Now, granted, we have had 3 pretty successful DC movies since then.
Yes, we have
The Aquaman is like how
Aquaman, as they say in Mexico.
Yep, Mexican heritage right here. Not really. My wife's Hispanic. But Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman, obviously.
Right. Joker too now.
Joker. Oh, Joker's the biggest.
Yeah,
you could just be on the profit margin.
So that's 4 right there.
Yeah, and so if they do this right, like they've had such a problem with writers and directors with this movie. Mm-hmm. I think.
Yeah, because
they must have had to scrap it completely.
Well, yeah, because Phil Lord and who's the other guy that he usually partners up with? But basically, the guys who do 21 Jump Street, Into the Spider-Verse,
Lord and Miller.
Yeah, Lord and Miller. Yeah, they were originally attached to
Lord
this
Miller.
movie, and then stuff didn't happen with that here.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, no, yeah.
I mean,
Give me something. If this next Wonder Woman somehow ties it, like I don't even know
Like,
if
sets it
like
up.
when Aquaman 2 is coming out. I don't know if Shazam 2 is on the forefront or the horizon.
I think Shazam 2 is actually supposed to be coming out 2022, and I think
Okay.
Black Adam 2021, somewhere around there.
Okay, so I mean, we're gonna have content before that, so maybe they tie it in well.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
And I'm guessing this is gonna be right before the new the Batman movie. I call it the Batman. It kind of sounds weird, but it's called the Batman instead of just Batman.
Robert Pattinson's Batman movie here, but you're talking about like the Flash movie being done before that?
Yeah, is it coming out before that or after? Do you know?
Because this is going to be 2022, I believe the Batman is 2021. I think.
Okay, so we're gonna have
filming it or kind of doing.
So it could be a flashpoint
like
to where it kind of ties the universes together.
It's a possibility, but I think right now it's like, I don't know. I feel like Warner Brothers' strategy, because even they said that they were going to focus on individual stories for a little bit, and so I think now that they're kind of
That's what they should have done in the first place. Just copy Marvel.
right.
They know what they're doing.
Right, but. Anyhow,
That's I think the conversation we had, honestly, when that got announced, that it was basically 2 Justice League movies first. So you got Batman v Superman.
Yeah, which is
It's a Dawn of Justice. It says it in the title.
Yeah,
It's a Justice League movie.
Oh yeah.
You get the Justice League follow up.
Yep.
Which was not great.
No, I mean it. Like a Justice League movie should be like on par with Avengers here.
But they didn't have the backstories to make us care, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And so. I think they're softly going and rebooting it, not calling it a reboot, but kind of going back through, giving them their standalones, giving us a reason rather, for us to care about these characters like we should have in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe was so successful.
Well, they took their time.
They took their time and they had great backstories for their characters for the most part, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah. And I mean, every single major character in like those movies, like you know something about them here, oh, Drax is this way because of this, Doctor Strange is this way because of this,
right.
Or, you understand the character motivations and where they're coming from.
There's a depth that was there that isn't there in the DCEU.
Yeah.
For the most part, except for maybe Superman, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, Superman.
That was the only one at the time that had any kind of standalone movie.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but who knows if Henry Cavill's even coming back? He has recently been like, oh yeah, I could still come back.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like it's a very like non-specific answer, or like non-committed answer that we're receiving, because we've heard that he's out, then we've heard he's in.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
And so I mean, obviously he's gonna be tied up with The Witcher. He's probably got like a contract to do like a couple seasons here at minimum. They're already greenlit for a season 2 on that. So,
which I'm so stoked for that.
Yeah, no, it should be good.
I haven't seen a lot of good things with Henry Cavill in it.
Yeah,
I do like him though, and I'm very hopeful with what we've seen in the little teasers they've given us.
Yeah, the little character videos.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
and that's next week. You know, so
next week, same day as Star Wars.
We'll be talking about that next week. So stay tuned for that. But all right, well, we're gonna move just along out of our nerd news a little bit, and we're gonna go into some game talk with the Nindy Showcase. For those of you who are Nintendo fans, you know what this is. If you're not, it's basically a showcase of indie developers that release their stuff on the Switch. I've been a huge fan of some of the stuff that's come out on the Switch. It's such a cool thing to have that platform for people who want to make games and don't want to or haven't had the opportunity to work for a big company.
Oh yeah, and not to mention like the Switch is prime place to play, the indies, and there's always like sales going on. You can pretty much snag like a couple bangers for like say less than $30 here for sure. If you're really, going with that here.
I'm waiting. I'm sure I should have got this one. I think it was on sale last year, but Slay the Spire looks so cool.
Yeah, no.
I love card games.
Yep.
It's. I think it won. What award did that win? I didn't. I know it won an award this year, but
I don't know. But it's definitely one I've heard a lot about here. And if you're a card game guy
or a rogue guy, I think it's like a mix of rogue / kind of
Roguelike
a
and all
card
that,
strategy game, then that's your game. But one of the things that stood out to me, I love fighting games. I love Street Fighter 2 goes down as one of my probably top 3 games of all time. Streets of Rage 4.
But that's not really a fighting game. That's more of a beat 'em up here.
It's a beat 'em up, but
it's like Turtles in Time.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And I love that's one of my other favorite games.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I love the beat 'em up kind of that genre because it's classic. It's the arcade games you played, and
no, absolutely.
And so I think it looks great.
It looks great. You know,
the animation, everything about it,
top notch.
I'm hoping it turns out well, though.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the game actually does well because I want to see more of that. Like, yeah, just the movements. Like, it definitely super reminiscent of Street Fighter,
very much, so,
and
yeah.
the old Streets of Rage games if you've played those.
Yeah.
But something we both really liked, Super Mash.
Super Mash definitely seems like it looks buck wild because I mean you can mix 2 genres of like games, and so you could have like say JRPG platformer or JRPG racing or something like that,
and you can combine them.
You can combine them and like basically generates a game right there. Which
I know.
I feel like is too good to be true.
It is. It already is. I already know it is.
I feel like you are correct on that. However, I will be keeping an eye on this. Basically, keeping an eye on it. Like,
I'll touch.
Yeah, no, just kind of seeing like, okay, yeah. So I want to know more about it for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I like the idea of it generating a game that's gonna hopefully be unique to you, right?
Yeah.
And so now, is that going to be one level of a game, or is it like a full length? Because that would be literally insane if it's a full length
game. Yeah,
like obviously it's more with graphics that is on that reminiscent of the Super Nintendo, right? And so
Super Nintendo, maybe a little bit higher fidelity than Super Nintendo, but yeah,
low end N64 stuff, maybe not like the character model of that, but just a little bit crisper, like a new N60 or not N64, but SNES kind of look, I guess.
Yeah,
like you could even like there's some other games on this list that have that same look that are new games.
Well, and that's kind of like a standard. I think indie art style is like you go for like the Super Nintendo or the NES, style, like 8-bit or 16-bit.
That nostalgia again.
It always gets you.
It's gonna get you. It's gonna empty your pockets and wallets, people. Yep. All right. So I put this one on here, Dauntless. It was actually on PlayStation and Xbox, I believe, before. They did a beta for a while.
Is that free Monster Hunter?
Yeah, it's a free Monster Hunter game, essentially. I downloaded it last night because it came out yesterday. Yeah. Basically, I think, or the day before. And I played it for a minute on PlayStation. And I was like, I think it was in the beta, though. Yeah. There wasn't a lot to the game.
Sure.
And I was playing Monster. That was around the time Monster Hunter I was way into. I love Monster Hunter. Yeah. That game's dope. This is a free version essentially of that. I mean, the graphics aren't as great, and there's not a story to kind of go along with it per se. It's I'm not too far into it, probably like 3 or 4 hours into the game. Okay. But it's cool. The weapons are cool. Like learning the movements of the beasts like you would in a Monster Hunter game is pretty cool. I already have my favorite weapons. You can upgrade them.
Just like Monster Hunter.
Just like Monster Hunter. It's a simpler version. It really is it's kind of like they drop you like on a map, kind of like Fortnite or one of those games. It's with a team now. Yeah. So you have 3 buddies with you. You go in and you try to take out the monster any way you can. Yeah. And there's different elements of weapons you have that will do better against certain monsters, just like Monster Hunter. But for a free game, pick it up. Yeah. Like download it. Play it for a little.
Sure. Yeah.
If you got time.
For the low price of free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Not? Yeah.
All right. Skatebird. Why?
So you got some strong opinions on this one?
I'm like, why do we need this game? It's a skate game, but they're birds skating
in like a little miniature
for no reason at all. For literally zero reason. I mean, they'll get downloads just for the name of the game, I feel like, but I don't want that game. I don't care about that game.
Yeah. I don't want to be too hard on it just because, it's like, it's coming from like an independent developer. He's, apparently his passion is,
did he play Tony Hawk's Underground at all?
Well, and that's the thing is like, this doesn't look like it's it's on par with like Tony Hawk Underground or like some of like the best skate games out there. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not for me. Not for you. So,
No.
I don't know.
So what did you think? I put this next game down, Liberated.
I think looks pretty dope.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you ever saw that one game that came out on the Genesis, but it's called Comic Zone, where you're
Oh man, that sounds familiar.
You're a comic artist who gets sucked into like one of his comics, and you have to like you're jumping from page to page, panel to panel, like kind of like almost like a platformer beat 'em up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it reminds me kind of like that. And I really like the art style. It looks like it's going to have like a choose your own adventure type thing where you make choices with the story.
And kind of like a platformer look.
Kind of platformer puzzle vibe with some shooting thrown in there for good measure. No, I mean, it definitely looks cool.
And it's got the noir vibe.
Very much so, yeah.
And who knows, and if it is a choose your own adventure where there's different outcomes, like I love a game that tells a great story.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, I'll try it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And it's coming out on everything, I'll get it for the Switch. That's my main console.
Yep.
I've kind of forsaken all other consoles at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I'll touch PlayStation if, like Jedi Fallen Order. Still haven't touched it, but I want to play it.
Yep.
Got to have that money though. Okay. Well, Axiom Verge 2 is coming out. I just kind of threw that in there.
Yeah.
I didn't play the first one.
I didn't either.
It looks cool.
That's one that's on my back burner, and I'm a big fan of the Metroidvania games.
Yes, you are.
So I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, anything that's on, there, I'm pretty much into. So yeah, I'll probably eventually get around to playing the first Axiom Verge, and second one looks good as well. So
yeah. Okay. So for this next one, this is the banger of the entire showcase.
Yep.
Boyfriend Dungeon. And both of us had kind of the same response when we saw this. I'm like, literally, I was like, why is this game like Skatebird? Fine,
yeah.
But the premise of this, I'm like, is there a niche group of people where this is literally their dream?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a niche group of people.
Well, what's the game about, Dorian? Let's explain that to them.
Okay, yeah, so that's a good idea. So it's basically a dungeon crawler, kind of like Diablo here. You kill monsters, you get loot and all that. But it's also a dating simulator at the same time.
That was their premise. They were like, hey, we have something you guys have wanted for a long time, and it crosses two amazing
genres.
And who cares about dating simulators?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a niche.
The Sims, I guess.
Yeah.
That's like.
I mean,
why?
it's definitely a niche type of genre that I feel like more more female players. I think it's more popular with here and whatnot. But I mean, but the fact that like essentially the main hook is like your weapons that you get in the game. They turn into like hot guys.
They turn into hot guys,
and you can date them. So
you can date them if you want to.
There's that.
Yeah, I want to play it just out of pure curiosity.
I mean, I mean, it's like I don't know. I feel like the reaction that you had Skatebird, I had like much stronger to.
Oh, me too, for sure.
Here, just because it's like, I mean, granted, okay. Hilarious here,
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're not going to do it tongue in cheek.
But how do they get the money for this? Is it a Kickstarter?
Probably. I mean, I would imagine it's Kickstarter or
a lot
like
of pervy people out there. Like,
I mean, I don't know.
Like, I don't know. I mean, like you're saying, it is kind of a niche group of people. Maybe people that listen to this podcast at some point.
Who knows?
Which if it's your cup of tea, cool.
Yeah.
It's not ours.
Hey,
but
you're a free American. You're free to enjoy whatever niche
thing
game that you want. Yeah. So,
but like,
we're all nerds about something.
We're all nerds about something. That's our catchphrase. Yeah. But I was even like, I was watching it next to with my wife.
Oh gosh.
And she was like, why would anyone want to play that game? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
granted, my wife plays, Mario Kart 8 or whatever Mario Kart's out. That's like that's her jam.
And
or like, but she's not a big gamer, but she was just like, who needs this game? And I was like, so somebody apparently, but
yeah. I mean, not for me, not for you.
That's just okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Resident Evil 3.
So yeah, looks great.
Looks amazing,
Yeah,
dude.
like-
I just saw stills of it at first, and I was like, holy moly.
Yeah,
Like, holy crap, this game looks awesome.
yeah. No, I mean, well, I just recently got done playing the Resident Evil 2 remake.
How was that?
That was actually pretty solid here. I mean, so a little bit of backstory. I actually beat Resident Evil 4 for the first time just like a couple months back.
Okay, cool.
And even though like controls haven't like exactly like aged super well for that game,
Sure.
I freaking loved it.
Oh, okay,
And so naturally, Black Friday came around, wanted to buy Resident Evil 2, pop on that. It's pretty good. I mean, I'd still like 4 better. I mean, the main thing is what I'm hoping for. So we got remake of 2, remake of 3, which really quick turnaround because
I'm sure they had multiple studio, or at least multiple teams at the studio
Probably.
working on the different games.
But I'm really hoping 4 is the next one up to bat because I would love like modern graphics, modern controls for that game. I think would be an absolute banger.
For sure.
Yeah.
All that said, it looks amazing. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked, just on looks alone, it would be something that I looked into potentially picking up. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
I never played the Resident Evil games. I'm such a scaredy cat that I'd have to play it in a room probably with you, Dorian, because
I mean,
fully armed with real guns.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't handle it, but
yeah,
no, it's all good.
but yeah, I mean 4 is like one of those games where like it's not super scary really in or anything like that. Now, 2, the remake, that one gets scary here. Like
yes,
you get.
I think what was that on PlayStation? PlayStation 2.
It was originally on PlayStation.
Okay, I think
1, and then I think it did come out on the N64 as well.
Okay,
But
I might have played on N64 at a friend's house, and it terrified me.
yeah,
When I was like in 5th grade or something like
Yeah.
that. Dang. Okay. Well, moving on. We got to talk about the Game Awards.
we do. Yeah, just real brief. So I mean, the main thing about it is Xbox new console, the
Yeah.
Xbox X Series.
Right.
It essentially got revealed. Like, so we got the name, we got the look of the console, look of the controller. Not many other details other than that, but I mean, looks like just a big PC tower for the most part.
Yeah, Dorian and I were talking about this, and I mean, my initial reaction of it was, that's a PC.
Yeah.
So why not just buy a PC? But
I mean, it depends on the price point.
yeah,
and
I think if it's manageable and affordable, and it's going to be playing stuff in 4K, obviously, it's probably the cheaper option, to be honest.
Right, and I mean, and that's kind of one of the big things about, I think for console gaming is like, you have a cheaper way to go as opposed to like, building a gaming PC, as well as, more simplicity behind it here. You don't have to like, mess around with a bunch of different programs, making sure that everything is like running good and whatnot. I try to do PC gaming for a little bit. It
is more difficult if you're not used to it, for sure.
Yeah, if you don't know the language and you don't know how to like, optimize or, set certain things here, or,
Right.
kind of like know the specifics of it. I'm just the kind of guy who just likes to like turn on the console,
Go to it. Yeah.
and just like not have to worry about like, is my graphics card,
Capable of pushing this.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting. We got the Xbox reveal, and then you wanted to talk about a game specifically.
Oh yeah. So, specifically it is, give me 1 second. It is Ghost of Tsushima.
So what's that?
So I don't know if you remember, this was like done a couple E3s ago, but it's like that one PlayStation game where it's set in feudal Japan. It's kind of open world.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was like, I think maybe at E3 last year,
Okay.
if I remember right. But basically, it's
This game was at E3 last year?
yeah, I think last year.
Okay.
Yeah, not this last E3, but like 2018 E3. And basically, it's what it's shaping up to be is like essentially like an open world ninja game here. So you're going around on your horse. You're doing stealth. You're doing sword fights. You're basically kind of. I think it's going to be, from at least what I hope it is. It's going to be kind of what Red Dead Redemption was to like essentially like cowboy games where they basically encompass everything that you would want in like say a Western game. I'm hoping like for like a feudal Japan game.
Yeah.
This is going to be kind of the equivalent to that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm about those kind of games. I never played Red Dead. Like I don't know. I'm not about the kind of Western trope. I like old Western movies. I grew up watching with my dad, but
Sure.
I'm not going to invest a lot of, and those are I just don't have the time.
No,
right now.
I mean, and that is a big draw.
But here's the deal: as I am about martial arts
Mm-hmm.
and those sorts of things, and just kind of that genre.
Yeah.
And so this might be a game I touch on if it's like a RPG style, like level up your guy, play the way you want to play.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm down. If you could like clan up with people, like if we could go on a mission together or something like that, that might be pretty cool.
I don't know if there's any multiplayer aspect to it. I mean, so far they've just been showing like the single player stuff, but I don't know. We'll see.
One can hope.
Yeah.
Right?
There's always hope.
There's always hope. Something we're both kind of bummed about.
Yeah.
No big Nintendo reveal.
Right. Yeah. Because Nintendo has had a very strong E3 presence, like not E3, Game Awards presence the last couple of years.
Sure.
You know, they showed like a trailer for Breath of the Wild one time. They showed Smash, the first Smash DLC character, I think last year, if I remember right. And so I think a lot of people were expecting at least the last Smash DLC character for this Fighter Pass to be revealed, but
yeah,
at least something. But they really didn't have anything big to like really show from their first party here. So
yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
So I mean, they might be having like a direct probably in January, I would imagine. So that's probably where they're going to be like showing off a lot of their stuff for the year.
Yeah, there has to be a direct coming.
Yeah.
So, eShop sale. There's a little bit one going on. You know, we're both huge Nintendo fans, and so these are a couple of games that we thought, you know, if you haven't picked them up already, and you're thinking about picking up something, maybe around this time of year, maybe have some time off for Christmas or
I think the sale goes
home from school.
I think the sale goes till like the 18th. So
right before Christmas.
Yeah,
or even getting it for your kids or a friend or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So they had Octopath for $36.
I mean,
that's solid.
Solid game. I mean, if you're into like, old school Super Nintendo JRPGs like I am, it's a great time. I mean, it's a great art style, good combat system, it's great.
Yeah. They also had Mortal Kombat 11 for $30. If you like fighting games, I'd say pick it up.
Yeah.
Not much else to say about that.
Yeah.
Skyrim for $30. That's still kind of pricey for me, to be honest.
It is, but
it's a great game though.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All the DLC and everything, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would imagine, but
if you didn't pop on it already, as far as having it on the go, I had it when me and my wife went on our honeymoon. That's something I didn't play it, but like if you
like airplane,
if you have a long airplane ride, that'd be something. If you're traveling for the holidays, you pick up and no,
absolutely. And then also you have one thing that is on there is Super Mario Odyssey, I think is $42.
Yeah.
And I mean, here's the thing. It's like $42, that's $18 off of like $60. Not the greatest deal in the world, but the thing is like Nintendo very rarely discounts like their first party stuff.
That's true.
So, I mean, it's like if you see like, any type of deal for, a first party Nintendo game, you kind of have to jump on it.
Beyond Black Friday for sure.
Yeah.
Because here's kind of where I've gotten to with the eShop. Unless it's like an indie or a game that's only released digitally, I typically will go to our local Walmart. It's not a plug, but they sell games for $47. That's the base price right now for their games. And
really?
So, I don't know if it's just our area, the Pacific Northwest, but if I buy physical, people are probably gonna hate me for saying that, but that's the place if you're looking for a deal. However, if you're just a purely digital person, which I would say most of your games are digital, right?
All my games except for Breath of the Wild are digital, so I have my entire library wherever I go.
So it's a good price if you want to pick it up digitally.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So moving on, Mandalorian came out today. Mando, yep. So episode 6.
Yeah.
So, spoilers in case anybody hasn't seen.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. So,
If you have not seen it yet, do not listen to this. Just hit the skip button a couple times on your...
Those holes on the side of your head,
Yeah, cover them up.
Cover them up here.
Earmuffs.
So let's start with Bill Burr's character finally showed
Bill Burr,
up.
I like Bill Burr's stand-up.
Yeah, I do too.
Parts of it. I mean, he can be a little much, but...
Yes.
I did not know he could act.
Yeah, no, me neither.
And so to be in a Star Wars... I found out he was going to be in it, I think, through the Joe Rogan podcast. He might have, because he's probably friends with Bill Burr.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan's friends with everybody.
And it might have been the Resistance broadcast. Shout out to Resistance broadcast, which is a Star Wars podcast I listen to. But
yeah,
I did not think he would steal the show the way he did.
No, he was honestly he was funny. He actually, I feel like that Gungan reference.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
You guys know what we're talking about if you've seen the episode, but he's looking at Mandalorian and going, why don't you take, kind of the same thing we've seen all seasons. Like, why don't you take off your mask type of thing? And they're kind of making fun of him, like, it's the way, it has to, he doesn't take off his mask. And he's like, yeah, he's probably a Gungan under there, and kind of a nice little poke at Jar Jar Binks.
Yep.
And so that was kind of cool. I liked that humor. This was, in general, I think a really good episode.
It is a good episode. The one thing I would say, I mean, to give a little bit more context here, this is like essentially a heist episode here.
Yes, big time.
And like with typical heist, plots, like, they have a plan, they go out, they execute it, and then something goes wrong, or there's a twist or something like that. And then, something has to happen to where they have to get out of the situation where they are. So typical like heist plot formula here. And I mean, it's honestly one of those episodes that does not really advance, like I'd say, like the main story that you have with the Mandalorian, with like, Baby Yoda and like
he's still in it, but yes.
Yeah, but the Bounty Hunters Guild and like the Empire trying to get, Baby Yoda and stuff like that. I think it's it doesn't really do that, but as far as a standalone episode, it's, I think, probably like, I think this might be the best standalone episode that we've had so far, in all honesty.
Yeah, and I would agree. I would say, for me, it would either be this episode or episode 3.
Yeah.
Of not the movie, obviously, but
of this season.
Of the season,
yeah.
And that was directed by Deborah Chow. I thought she did a great job, bringing the Mandalorians in an awesome way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And not to mention too, it's like freaking Mando, like, obviously we all know that he's a baller, like, pretty much from the first like 5 minutes of this show here. But like right here, this episode, he really gets to shine here. Like there's,
for sure.
There's like parts where he's just going straight up Batman, just like, like,
he's in vents, he's hiding.
He's in vents.
Shoots his grapple cable at someone.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, super cool here.
I think so the director of this one was forgive me if I say it wrong, Rick Famuyiwa. Rick Famuyiwa. And he directed episode 2, The Child.
Oh, okay.
Which was really good.
Yeah, no.
Now, for me, I like the directing. The directing in this, the shots were really cool.
Yeah, no,
there was an eeriness. Like, you say heist, I would agree with you. It is definitely it's that classic villain heist. But also, I was getting elements of horror almost, but like reverse horror, because it's happening to the people that you want it to happen to, the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, spoiler alert. Mando takes this mission to earn some money. Mm-hmm. With some people from his past, so we get to meet people that he's been in circles with.
Yeah,
they're shady, obviously.
Oh, big time shady.
And so they go on this adventure. They're trying to break out one of their people out of a
Republican prison transfer.
Republic, yeah, the Republic. They have this prison ship that's cruising, and they have info on that. And so they go in and beat up some droids and get into a nice little Mexican standoff, because the Mandalorian's kind of dealing with, I think, his past. Obviously, he's got these people with him, mm-hmm. but he's changed a lot. Obviously, we've seen that in the last few episodes of the show, and he's kind of you're seeing that he's they're wanting to kill this innocent guy. And he said, there's not supposed to be any living beings on this vessel.
Yeah, nobody nobody that isn't like just a droid or something like that.
Yeah, and so you see kind of the humanistic side of the Mandalorian come out, and they get into like a Mexican standoff with him and the other guys in his group, and one of them ends up killing him, and there wasn't really anything he can do, you know, and so I think he's starting to figure out that this might go south. You're knowing it's going south the whole episode, though.
Pretty much, just like given how shady like his crew is and that he's assembling, and just like even when he's talking to him in his ship and all that, they're just
for sure.
Yeah.
There's kind of this. I don't know if it's a trope or if like I don't know if you want to call it that, but basically, you know, just kind of that. We're bad guys and we like being bad guys kind of mentality.
Yeah, very much so.
That's what I was picking up on.
Especially like I forget the guy's name, but the guy with the horns, like most definitely, and like the Twi'lek chick and her brother, you know, they were definitely like.
I think his name was Berg, if I'm not mistaken.
But they were definitely like very like stereotypical, like, oh, we're bad and we like being bad, so you know.
Yeah.
But I will say one quick shout out to freaking Bill Burr's backpack.
Yeah, his backpack with the guns.
Yeah, so he's
That's
essentially
cool.
wielding 3 guns at once, and I thought that was absolutely dope. Yeah, and you want to talk about Baby Yoda using
Yeah, so so most of the episode goes by.
Yep.
Okay, so first off, most of the episodes have been about 30 minutes. This was about 42, 43 minutes.
Maybe roughly around 45, somewhere around there.
So it was kind of nice that, you know, with only 2 episodes left and then to wrap up, you know, this season, it's not strict on the 30 minutes. They're expanding the episodes for them to be what they need to be to tell the story, which I have liked so far this season.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting, actually, before we talk about Baby Yoda, is Deborah Chow actually makes an appearance as Sash Ketter in this, and she has directed some of the other episodes.
Really?
And so, yeah, she directed the 3rd episode, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, no, I did.
And I think she's up to direct the next, if I'm not mistaken. But
that's cool.
I thought it was really cool, and so. If explaining it back to where kind of we were with the Mexican standoff, I'll get into the Baby Yoda thing, but the Mexican standoff happens, right? They have to leave, basically. The rebel who was in there pressed like a homing beacon, a distress beacon, and so we got some of the Republic, you know, X-Wings coming in to take care of business. And so there's a time frame on this whole operation. So now they got to get out. They got to get out of the place before they get blown to smithereens. So they're making their way out, and they actually turn on the Mando. They push him into a cell, and that's when it kind of gets into that horror vibe almost, where obviously the Mandalorian escapes from his room, and he starts picking them off one by one, which I thought was awesome. Yeah. Like, I'm not a horror movie guy, but that was so cool. And that's where the cool. Batman, that's where you get to see like the Mando being the Mando, like, because we've discussed in other episodes where like we don't know how good of a Mandalorian he is, not meaning his heart, but skill wise.
Yeah, I mean, we get a little bit of like
you get a little bit, but he's kind of getting his butt kicked in every episode for the most part.
Kinda, yeah.
You know, until he teams up with someone or something like that. But,
yeah. So
basically, he gets thrown in a cell. He gets out and he starts picking them off kind of one by one. He goes to the control room. He starts messing with them. There's like this red light and it's kind of strobing, and you get this like effect, and he's like appearing, disappearing.
Yeah.
He's up, you know, in the vent using his grapple hook thing.
Yeah.
And he chokes that guy out, tries to choke him out.
I thought he was just going to straight up like hang him from the
vent. That's what I thought.
I thought, dang, they're going hard for a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, and they do it in a way that's not like grotesque, so obviously kids can still watch it.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of bummed about, because I was like, oh, I want to see some blood.
Yeah.
But it is okay. No, really well done.
Very well done, yeah.
So he gets...
especially... Well, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so they get to a point where obviously Mandalorian's taking them out one by one. He gets up into the ship. And during this time, Baby Yoda has kind of been doing his mischievous thing. Yeah. And there's a droid that's part of kind of the band of criminals, this group. And he starts getting... you're not really sure what he's going to do, and he sees, you know, Tiny or Baby Yoda, whatever, the child, whatever you want to call him. And, you know, he goes back to his little area that the Mando's putting him in, and the droid follows him there, and you think he's going to kill him, and and he reaches his hand out like he's going to use the Force. So you're like, oh man, are we going to see something? Is he going to tear this droid apart? Like, what's going to happen? And then you see this explosion kind of happen in his is it his head or his chest? I don't remember. I think it was his head.
It was his chest.
It was his chest. Yeah. So basically the Mandalorian shot him, and the Baby Yoda's reaction to that was hilarious because he's holding out his arm, and he kind of like looks at his hand like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Like, so it's pretty funny to see that kind of comedic side, and maybe even Yoda, or not Yoda, but the child not even being fully aware of his powers, because he was like, wait, I didn't know I could do something like that. But then you see him picking up that giant monster in the second episode, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. So I mean definitely like Baby Yoda is using his powers, because one of the things that happened after he used his powers on that big creature in episode 2 is like he kind of got tuckered out for a while there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Was like,
his limits were reached.
Well, yeah. So I kind of wonder if that's going to be kind of a thing where, these next 2 episodes, he's got to use his powers to kind of help Mando get out of a situation. And now Mando has to kind of like deal with him, like, being kind of, fragile here.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, I will say the end of it, solid. Like,
yes.
Because how it ends is like basically Mando brings the prisoner that he was originally contracted to, bring back to essentially the guy that wanted him, who is a criminal and part of his crew and stuff like that. And long story short, the original contract guy, the guy who gave Mando the job, essentially turns on him as he's leaving. He's like getting a ship ready to like, chase out after him and blow him up while he's flying away. But what you see is like the tracker that...
You kind of knew it was coming though.
Yeah,
like,
you did.
They're bad guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And they like to be bad.
Yeah, but the tracker that went off like in the Republic ship, he put it on the prisoner that he fished out of there. So basically the Republic comes to and shoots up the station that they're at, and that's the end here. Which I mean, kaboom, yeah.
Into hyperspace.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, overall thoughts, I think this is definitely the best standalone episode that we've gotten. Probably,
I think I agree with that.
Probably my second favorite episode of this season. I do feel like we do need to start kind of making some headway on like the main storyline. But
yeah, because what is it?
Well, I mean, as far as I know, and it's really about like the Empire trying to get Baby Yoda, and then also him dealing with like essentially Carl's Weathers character with the Bounty Hunter Guild and stuff like that. So, I mean, and here's the thing: is like I think Mandalorian has definitely earned like some time to kind of mess around and kind of like have a few standalone episodes and do its own thing. Just because in the first 3 episodes, I feel like they do more than most TV shows do in a whole season here for the most part.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like if this was on the CW, it would take in like 20 episodes to get what you got in.
Yes.
And
not nearly as much filler. I mean, we've had filler in these episodes, and our apologies. As far as like the names of, so you have the Empire, or what was the Empire, the remnants of the Empire. They're kind of going into the First Order. Yeah. Kind of, and then we have the rebels becoming kind of the
Republic.
The Republic, and then now there's this resistance later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so bad guys and good guys. With that said, but yeah, overall good episode.
Yeah.
Looking forward. So we're gonna go into kind of theory territory with this at the end of the season, because there's only 2 episodes left. We get 8 episodes. Okay, so one of my biggest kind of peeves, I guess, with the Mandalorian and its marketing is like, I wanted to buy my wife because she loves Baby Yoda. Who doesn't? Tiny is so cute.
Oh, absolutely.
He's the most adorable thing on TV.
Yeah.
But you can't get anything till May.
Yeah, it's
really weird. And so my thing is, at least they've done this with Rebels and other shows, is releasing a season in the fall, right? That goes through winter, and then releasing something like spring that bleeds into summer.
Yeah.
And so since we're only getting 8 episodes, I'm kind of wondering if that's how they're doing it with the Mandalorian. Are they going to release these 8 and then we get another 8 come come spring or summer?
I don't think so, just because they're filming, at least like not in the spring, because they're filming it right now, and just given the budget and how much special effects and post production that they have to do on this, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't like, at least until like maybe late summer if they do put out another season.
And it could just be like this is part 1 of season 1 and we get a part 2.
Possibly, but I mean it's kind of one of those things where there's definitely like it's kind of like where TV can like take its time now. Like there's
for sure,
because like you look at like say something like Stranger Things or Game of Thrones.
Waiting
like,
2 years for a stinking season.
Yeah, no, like they say, oh yeah, no, you need more time to make a season or make the season how you want. Yeah, no, go ahead, take that time. Rick and Morty is definitely another example of that here. So I mean, yeah, you definitely have like a lot of, I think a lot more flexibility. So, and for something like as big as The Mandalorian and how popular it's been, I mean, I definitely think if Jon Favreau and crew have to say, hey, we need extra time, Disney will just be like, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with all the other stuff that they will be adding to Disney Plus.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot. So,
yeah. Anyway,
so wrapping that up, we're going to get into our episode 9 theories just because it comes out next week. And, I want to look back on this episode and kind of maybe, if I was right, I was right. Get the brownie points. And if not, then I can laugh at myself. But, we've been talking about theories for a long time.
We have, yeah.
And here's the deal is like, I enjoyed The Last Jedi.
I did too.
In a general sense. I'm not going to say it was a great movie.
No.
But here's some questions kind of we had, thinking through it. And so we're gonna talk through them. But number 1, I guess, if you want to navigate it.
Sure, yeah. So first question on the list here is, will it retcon The Last Jedi?
And I don't think it will retcon it completely.
Okay. You think there will be some retconning going on?
So I don't know if you would call it retconning. A lot of the stuff I think that Rian Johnson left open kind of to interpretation, like where's parentage and just kind of his overall vibe for that movie. I think there just might be J.J. Abrams might bring more clarity to those vague things, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
So kind of like a soft reconning, like
more elaborating to the point where there's less ambiguous.
Less ambiguous. Yeah, less ambiguous.
Yeah, less ambiguous, yeah.
Because here's the deal, like my thoughts, raised parents, right? I don't know if I care at this point who they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
I don't think it would add anything to the story. It would be cool. I guess, but
yeah,
I think I cared so much more when Last Jedi was about to come out who her parents were, because I mean, we're here. When did the Force Awakens come out?
2015.
So we're here 4 years later.
Yep.
Right, and I'm kind of like over. Like I'm not over it. I would want to know.
Yeah.
But I'm not as excited as I was when leading up to The Last Jedi.
Well,
and when we didn't find out, I was kind of like, well, that's a missed opportunity in my perspective.
Or essentially you found out and it was just an underwhelming answer here,
for sure.
If they do go with that here, and because I mean that is something that they may or may not retcon, which from what the interviews and everything sounds like they will be. But I mean, no, it's I still care about it just because that was like one of the big questions that was set up in The Force Awakens here, and it wasn't really capitalized in The Last Jedi. So now that JJ has the reins back, he can like go about answering that question.
Yeah, here's my question. I guess a question within a question would be, regardless of what her parentage is, there's going to be people that are going to be mad, I guess. Like, why does it matter if we know her parents or not? Like,
well, I mean, I think it's just it's kind of like when you tease something or whatever, it's like you set something up that's like a mystery. You expect there to be, a payoff here. Yeah. I mean, and just given the fact that how big a role parentage plays in the Star Wars universe, like, I mean, Empire Strikes Back, I Am Your Father. I mean, changed everything.
Yeah. It can't be as big as that, though.
No, it won't be. I mean, because at that point they're essentially chasing like, the cash at that point.
And cash.
But, they're always chasing cash. But no, I think,
I mean, if let's say she was a Kenobi or if she was a Skywalker, like a Skywalker or like that wouldn't make any sense to me.
It wouldn't, and at least at
And
this
she's,
point.
in my opinion, she's not a Palpatine. There's no way, unless she's a clone, which could be, and that could be, the vision where she goes into like the Sith. What do you call it? I guess it was like like a hole in the ground that went into like the water.
The
watering hole.
That one part in Last Jedi where there's like that dark side of the Force in that on that island, and she goes in.
Yeah, and she
like
sees
all those mirrors,
all bunch of herself.
Yeah, so I mean, no,
it could be that.
It would be interesting if they did tie it in that way, but I don't know. I feel like with Palpatine coming back, there is definitely a possibility of her being like linked to Palpatine in some way, shape, or form here. Just because I feel like, now that you have this piece that's on the chessboard now, it's like, okay, why wouldn't you create a connection, or why wouldn't you like actually like, do something with it more than just being like one thing or another? But I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, and I would say that on the flip side of that, it's like, don't force something that doesn't need to be there.
Correct.
Right? And if you do say something where it's a big reveal where she is a Palpatine or she is a Kenobi or whatever the tie-in is.
Yeah, make it natural.
Well, you have to explain it.
You do, yeah.
And so there's so much they have to wrap up in this movie. I don't know if it's going to be that big of a reveal.
Yeah, well, and that...
like a lot of people might think.
Yeah, well, and that will probably... Well, that's also kind of getting into like probably our last question, but let's move on. So how does Palpatine come back?
Yeah, that's the question. Now, I know in Star Wars canon there have been resurgence of people from the dead coming back to the living, right? Now, I don't... without explaining it in like heavily, like obviously we thought there were people dead in the main series that obviously popped back up, Darth Maul being one of them.
Yep.
Now it could be like force possession, right? Like I'm thinking of, I guess, like X3 when Xavier like leaves his body, like he destroys himself, but he puts his consciousness into someone else.
Yeah.
Like maybe he just kind of possessed something else. Maybe he was Snoke. Maybe, man, then when he died, he left his body like a demon almost. Like, that could be, we don't know. There's a lot to the Sith we don't know or understand, especially when it comes to the new canon that they're establishing.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
He could be a clone. That is definitely a thing in the games and books and everything, that he was cloned by himself and he could have kind of put his consciousness into him. I don't know.
Yeah, if it's like the same consciousness, being put into like, a clone.
I think that's the key though.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If it's just like, oh, I'm a clone and, now I have all the memories and stuff like that. It's like, disconnected from like, the original Palpatine. I feel like that's like, it's not as like meaningful here.
So something I was thinking about, remember back to episode 3 when he's talking to Anakin and they're at that show basically in the booth, and
he's talking about Darth
Plagueis the Wise. Yeah. And he's like, basically he's seducing Anakin, saying, I'm guessing full well knowing that he's trying to find a way for Padme to not die.
Right.
And he's basically like, well, there's a way.
Yeah.
What if he wasn't lying? What if there was a way and he just didn't teach it to Vader? Because obviously we know through many things, after Anakin got hurt in the battle on Mustafar as badly as he did, he was, roughly, I can't remember the percentage, probably 80% of the man he would have been if he had his limbs and had the connection to the Force he did when he was just Anakin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what if he was telling the truth and he did find the way? And so this is the kind of the culmination of what we're seeing there.
I think that is very likely, just because I think like in the in like, what's considered like, the old canon now, because he was Darth Plagueis' apprentice at one point.
Yeah.
And I think Palpatine has been or at least like Palpatine himself has been around for like, I think quite a long time. Like I think he's like been around, I want to say like at least 100 years or so, which
I'm not sure actually on that.
Yeah. But I don't know, but I mean, I thought I remember hearing something about that. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it seems like it's pretty likely that he is essentially, he found like whatever that secret was that, his master found out, killed him, and then he's basically been preserving himself for like all these years, and then just going and doing that here.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I don't. That's a good, kind of. Well, I'm gonna look this up real quick, but basically it says that he's not any older than I think he looks.
Okay.
Like he in episode 3, it looks like he's about 60.
60?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes sense. That's about how old he looks.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
So here's the kind of biggest question I think people have, because in the title, what does Rise of Skywalker refer to?
Yeah. And no, that is the big question here. So,
Thoughts? Concerns?
I would say, I think Rise of Skywalker is going to refer to essentially like the word Skywalker is going to mean something else by the end of the movie. I don't think Luke Skywalker is coming back from the dead. Personally, I think that might be a little bit of a stretch. Who knows? I don't know.
I disagree, but
yeah,
it's just my opinion.
Yeah. And then because I think there was like that one book that was talking about like Force users being essentially being pilots and like using the Force to like pilot. They were talking about them being Skywalkers, and that's like where the name originally came from. So I don't know. Maybe that's how like it's kind of a return to form. Like Jedi are now called Skywalkers, or like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I could see that. I just don't know if they'll do that, because so many people have like such a connection to the word Jedi.
Oh, very much so.
And it's known. I think that it could be the next generation of Jedi are known as Skywalkers.
Possibly, yeah.
Or at least that sect of Jediism, or whatever you want to call it, is a Skywalker thing. But yeah, I think Rise of Skywalker can mean a number of things. I mean, Rey could adopt the name. For all you who think it's Shimmy Skywalker, time traveling,
no.
That is a thing.
That is a thing.
It's a laughable thing, but
I mean,
it is a thing.
Now, here's the thing. If Rey adopts the name of Skywalker, is that satisfying, or is that...
No. I think for some people it would be, just because she's carrying on that name.
Sure.
Now, with that said, that means Ben Solo's not in the picture, because obviously he is a Skywalker.
Right. I mean, by blood, yeah.
And so I think she's kind of the embodiment of that.
Sure.
Of what Anakin could have been, right? And ultimately was. He did bring balance to the Force, obviously, but
right.
And what Luke was, he's the good guy.
Yeah,
he's the light side user, and so I think that might be in reference to that. Mm-hmm. Now they might even answer that in the movie. It could just be like, it could be more ambiguous than we think. Some people, and myself included, and now that I think about this even more since the time I wrote it, I'm not really sure if it has to do with this, but some people may think it's tied to Ben Solo's redemption and him becoming a light side user and kind of leaving the dark side, or getting to that middle ground, kind of where Luke may have been. But I don't know. That would be such a huge ripoff, I think, of Episode 6 and Vader coming full circle too.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I feel like it'd be really weird if they didn't go the redemption route with Ben Solo, just because, I mean, they've kind of been setting it up, or like, having him have this conflict here, and he hasn't really like completely like, severed like all of his connections from like,
No, we haven't seen Sith Eyes.
Yeah, we haven't seen Sith Eyes. We haven't seen him go full on like, bad guy here for the most part. So, I mean, I feel like, yes, he will have a moment, or he will like, come around and have some redemption, probably end up, helping Rey kill off the Emperor.
Oh, I'm sure that there's going to be that battle. Then it comes down to what happens after. How's that battle going to go?
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be so many things that happen in order for it to be such the payoff it's kind of hyping itself up to be.
Oh, very much.
It's the culmination of these 3 trilogies, right?
Yeah.
So you got to bring back Obi, you got to bring back Anakin,
Well,
got to bring back,
that's the rumor, yeah.
Yoda, and we'll see kind of how that. I'm not even gonna go into that because that's such a deep rabbit hole when it comes to theories. But something I want to talk about is like, do you think it's gonna be good?
Well, let's save that question for the.
For the after this one.
Yeah, after this one.
Okay, so who do you think is gonna bite it? Who's gonna die?
So I think Kylo is almost guaranteed. Because
now, again, is that too trope-ish? Is that too Star Wars-ish when it comes to a Skywalker who was good going bad, sacrificing himself for the greater good, becoming good again?
Yeah. I mean, it obviously is too trope-ish, but I mean, it's like, will it be done?
Probably.
I mean, let's face it, like episode 7 is, A New Hope with like a new coat of paint and
for sure.
And
for
just
sure.
like a couple new characters.
I love it, but yes.
Yeah. Last Jedi essentially is Empire Strikes Back with a little bit of the Return of the Jedi mixed in there just for good measure here. So I mean, George Lucas said it himself, like, Star Wars is like poetry. It like, rhymes. It has like a beat to it. It has a rhythm here. So, I mean, I think like, in all honesty, I mean, I don't know. I definitely feel like it, after him, like, killing Han Solo and, just all the things that he's done, essentially like retaking over the First Order and stuff like that. It's kind of hard for him, like, I don't know, in my mind, realistically, come back from that and like, accept and like, be accepted or be like, something like that. I feel like he would have to either pay for his crimes or he'd have to like go off and like, become a lone wanderer or something.
He could,
like
like I said, I don't know. He might have to die. I don't know. I think that I think he has high potential to be killed off. And it could be a sacrificial thing, and then, it could be him and Rey both die when they both sacrifice themselves to take down the Emperor, and that's it. That's the last Jedi is killed, and
and
the
last Sith is killed, and everything's done. I do think Rey will survive this one here. I think
I'd be okay if you didn't.
I mean, it'd definitely be interesting, but it's kind of like going back to like that conversation that we had about Last Jedi. Last Jedi had a bunch of, plot twists and turns and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it's like, is it necessarily good?
Right. Exactly.
And that's the big thing. So I don't know if you have like a good enough like reason or if it feels earned, I'm okay with it. But it's all about earning it here.
Yeah.
Poe. Do we think he's going to make it out?
If he dies, I don't care.
Really?
I don't know. I think the maybe this movie will make me care.
Yeah.
I think the arc him and Finron last movie was kind of pointless.
No. Well, I mean the one of the worst things about Last Jedi is like two of the most interesting characters that you developed in The Force Awakens, Finn and Poe. You barely give them anything to do, or at least anything meaningful to do.
Yeah, because how useful was any of the stuff they were in?
Oh, it just did not. Yeah,
pretty much none of it.
None of it. No.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, if you were to catch me post Force Awakens, I would say I definitely care if Poe dies or not. I like him. He's a cool character.
Oh yeah, no.
He's a bad mamma jamma when it comes to piloting.
Oh, he's a baller.
He's a baller.
Yeah.
Now. And this other one, I'm not sure. Finn, do you think here's the thing is like, I don't think if Poe dies or Finn dies, there's going to be as much impact if like Kylo Ren or Rey would die.
Yeah, no. And here's the thing. To, add on to that last question. I do care if Poe dies. I don't think he will, just because.
Maybe I do care. Maybe it's just more of like, if he dies, he dies.
Yeah, exactly.
Some Drago in there, but it has to be in a cool way.
It does.
It has to be him like balling out, like he goes kamikaze or
something like
where he
that.
knows he has to, like, he's not going to get out of it. And he's like, I'm going to take this down to help out the resistance.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think he's I think Poe essentially is kind of being bred to be essentially like Leia's replacement, or like going to be kind of running like, a lot of the resistance operations and all that. And granted, there might not be a need for the resistance after this, but it's kind of like, if he's being bred to kind of do this, he kind of has to like, be alive to kind of see it out here. That's just my thought process. But
yeah,
I think Finn, I think there's a possibility of him like biting the bullet, just because reason being is like he's had this arc where he's, he started off as a coward.
Yeah.
And
he's a deserter.
And he's also been kind of selfish in like, his motivations here. And even like in Last Jedi, we kind of see that where, starting out, he is essentially deserting the resistance in order to like, search for Rey and make sure that she's okay.
Yeah.
And that's when, Rose tases him and stops him here.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that being said, it's kind of like, I feel like what would make it like come full circle is if he actually did sacrifice himself and like got past his cowardice to like, say, okay, yes, I'm willing to like, put my life on the line for something bigger than myself, which technically he has done, but it's like, it makes it so much more impactful if like you actually lose something to do it.
He's not really a hero in the sense of a hero, right?
No,
he's on the front lines. I mean, there's he had glimpses of it, but they did say, I think JJ came out and said they will explore kind of his backstory a little bit and kind of deepen that. And so I mean, I don't know what that looks like because he's kind of like a Jedi in the sense he was taken from his family at a very young age.
Yeah.
Now, does that even matter as far as like who he's related to too? I remember when The Force Awakens came out, we had all these theories, and a lot of people did of, well, these guys are all related to someone, obviously.
Oh yeah, no, I remember distinctly having
he's a Calrissian,
Yeah.
He's Lando's grandson or something.
I distinctly remember me having the theory of like, I thought Kylo Ren was Luke Skywalker just because you didn't see Luke in the trailers, and like, but you did see Kylo Ren hanging out like quite a bit in the trailer, so I'm like, is there a reason for that? But obviously, I was an idiot.
It's okay. We can be that way sometimes.
We can be that way sometimes.
So, other thing, real quick. This is something I didn't even want to touch on, but we'll bring it up for the sake of the theories and see if we're right. Dark Rey, is she going to be an actual thing?
I don't think so. No,
yeah. All right, moving on.
So then last question on this: do we think it will be good? Like, will this movie actually be good?
I'm praying it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's a tall order.
Like, what do you think like the odds are
of it being good?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it has a good. I think okay.
Like
I think it depends on how you look at it.
Sure.
Like if you think it's gonna be this one movie is gonna be a huge payoff for all the trilogies, I think you're gonna be let down.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying that this is gonna close out this trilogy, I would say there's probably a really good chance it will.
Yeah.
And do it well.
Yeah.
I hope they can do it well. I hope they can pay off all three trilogies, and
that'd be amazing if they could.
But I don't think the likelihood of that to me is low.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, this movie has just a lot of heavy lifting to do. I mean,
and we're not getting in-game time as far as like how the length of the film.
No, and not to mention too, it's like, it's like, because this is the movie that they're touting as like, or touting, I should say, as this is going to be the end to all three trilogies. It's also going to be the end to this current trilogy that we're on. Mm-hmm. It's also going to do damage control from Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's so much.
That's a tall order to do just in one movie.
Yeah,
and
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
Or 2 hours and 20-something minutes, whatever.
Somewhere around there. But, I mean, it's like, I feel like you need, like, another movie in there to, like, really, like, make that work out here. But I don't think, obviously, we're not going to get that. So, yeah, I don't know. So,
yeah. Well, that's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope that you guys can share this with another friend and get the word out there that we're doing this. But what we have coming up, we're going to do an episode 9 deep dive. What that is essentially is us looking at the movie in an in-depth way, and that's going to be kind of like a bonus episode we do sometimes for things that we think are really awesome and relevant, is that we're going to go just and dedicate a whole episode to that. So that's going to be our deep dive, and you can look for that kind of the week after that, directly following the Rise of Skywalker comes out. And so look for that. We're going to be talking about, the last decade basically in review. That's going to be something we're going to be touching on the next couple episodes when it comes to our nerd news. But you can go ahead and follow us on social media. Our Twitter is @YaHeardNerds, and look for us on YouTube. And that's just our name, You Heard with Nerds. And, always remember, everyone's a nerd about something.
Everybody's a nerd about something.